Yes, everybody, and welcome to High on Homegrown, the cannabis podcast from PercysGrowRoom.com. I am Mackie from the UK, and joining us this week, we have Marge.
That's right, coming at you from central Ontario and enjoying some beautifully mild February weather. Actually, March. Sorry, it's March, isn't it?
Shit, you messed it up, Marge. It was
I
perfect.
didn't mess anything up. It was a short month. What can I say? I'm on a 30-day timeline, 31 days normally.
You've gone off script.
I guess I have.
We also have Monkey Doo.
How's it going, everybody? Monkey down here in the Southeast US, enjoying a nice spring March day. Oops. But no, I hope everybody is having a good time today and got something nice to smoke for the show.
Nice. Yes, welcome everybody. Welcome. We're going to be covering the cannabis news today. I've forgotten how many articles we have. Was it 6 or 7, isn't it? So we're going to quickly tell you what we're going to be covering today. We have some Indian tribe plans to open North Carolina's first cannabis dispensary on 420. So we're going to cover that. So if you're around that way, you can go and visit, of course. We have some kind of dodgy Maryland dispensary fined $26,000 for being dodgy bastards. We'll read about that when we get there. We have some quadruple murder refutes myth that cannabis is safe because people who smoke cannabis tend to go out on murderous rampages, apparently. We also have Britain's reputation as the home of the rule of law is in tatters. No shit. We don't really need to go any further than that because you already know that, right? There's also problems with the supply of ADHD medication here in the UK, and as a substitute for it, parents of children with ADHD are heading to the cannabis clinics. Everybody, wow, more customers for those, right? We'll try not to rant when we go over that one. And then we have some health news. Smoking cannabis associated with increased risk of heart attack and stroke. And this was all over Google when we were looking for news articles today. It was lots of places have covered this. So let's get into the details of that one. And also we have Thailand to ban recreational cannabis, which we've covered recently, but they have a date for it and it will be done by the end of the year. For a change, politicians are moving quickly in Thailand. Usually this kind of thing takes a couple of years. So, yes, that's what we're going to be covering today. And, of course, we have some beautiful cannabis to consume. I have my forgotten strawberries. Monkey, what have you got today?
Just put cherry gasm into the vaporizer. So that's going to be the show today.
Beautiful. Nice choice. Are you smoking today, Marge? You got some edibles? What's the score?
I have some edibles and I have a little god bud, too.
Nice.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Now we've done all of that, we can press record. Can't we, Monkey?
I guess we should have a long time ago, huh?
Recording in progress.
It's all good.
Professional. Beautiful.
I don't know why my reminder didn't go off. It usually does, but today, I got to go double check that.
We're new to this. We're still adjusting. Teething pains. It happens.
Yeah, we've only been at it for almost 4 years now. We'll get it soon.
Damn, almost 4 years. But there you go. Quite a professional intro there. Yeah, that wasn't Margie's fault. Twisted is just pointing that there. Thanks for pointing that out.
I refuse to take responsibility for that.
Yes, that's right. It was definitely Monkey's fault.
Oh, there we go.
But yeah, so we got some good news stories to be covering today. And of course, we have the cannabis. What else was... Oh, yeah, we have. Last week, we discussed and we had a poll. Everybody, can anybody remember what that poll was?
Is grapefruit good or is grapefruit yucky?
That's right.
That's it.
Here we go. We have another section of Mackie Tastes. You know? This is a random section we have on the show now and again. You know?
But this one, I mean, we're not going to go over some of these weird ones that we get on the site. I mean, people are throwing stuff up there that would make me gag just looking at it.
Oh, man, no, we have to do that shit still.
All of those?
Yeah, well, no, haggis is anything I haven't tried, I'm willing to try it. But if I've tried it already, I'm not going to suffer. You know, grapefruit equals better than Turkish Delight. Well, I have right here a whole grapefruit, and I've been told, I think it was by Filmy Bowles, who said, "Don't peel it like an orange, cut it." So I also have a knife, on the plate there. See, I'm gonna cut this grapefruit now. Try not to damage my fingers along the way. This is gonna be so fucking bad.
Well, Chilbert says grapefruit is good. He says grapefruit is great, especially grapefruit weed. So there you go, Mackie. Come on.
He also said it was better than Turkish Delight. What?
I don't know what these people are talking about, March. I don't know why I have this problem.
I know. I don't. I'm so confused.
Right, here we go.
Yeah.
I've cut it into quarters here, right? So I'm going to grab a whole quarter here, and I'm going to bite
Do
it.
not whatever you do, do not bite the rind in any way and try and get, it's just the meat of the fruit, because that's where the best part is.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't want the pith.
The pith is
Uh,
bitter, very bitter.
Yeah.
People are saying put sugar on it. That is cheating, in my opinion.
It's
You can
not
put
cheating.
sugar
You
on
just want
fucking
pure-
anything and it will taste
Pure
good.
grapefruit goodness. It's really
That's
good
right.
after
That's
a
right.
meal too, I find.
Okay. Here we go, everybody. 3, 2, 1. Yummy.
There you go. No yell yet, so
Oh.
okay.
Okay. It's not as bad as I remember.
I see.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay.
Okay.
There you go. That's 2 weeks in a row now.
There is a little bit of a bitter aftertaste, but only a little. It's not too bad.
Well, like we said, if it's good grapefruit, you won't have any problem with it. And there are some bad ones out there, but these ruby reds these days have gotten pretty good amount of sweetness in it. So look,
Yeah, they
I'm
do.
proud of you. You tried too, and you actually, I know it's not your fruit of choice, but yeah, it's an option now.
Oof, God. Ugh. Why is it so bitter? Why is it
That's
Ugh.
the white membrane pieces between the sections. That's the bitter part. All that white stuff.
Yeah, you don't want that.
No.
Yeah, just put it on mute so I can just like stick my face in it and be like, yeah, you didn't want to hear that, everybody. But yeah, okay. That's another one which I was like, yeah, maybe I was wrong about that. Grapefruit's okay. Grapefruit's
Uh-huh.
okay.
Well, now you just got to grow some of my grapefruit weed.
Oof.
Yeah, got an Argyle stash that came out grapefruit. Every time I smoke that one, it's like, oh, this is nice. It's fruity, but not sweet. Perfect.
Oh God, it is bitter. That aftertaste is bitter though. It's not as bitter as I remember it. I remember it being as bitter, like when you drink orange juice after brushing your teeth. Remember that? Ugh.
Okay.
So-
Well, you may be remembering the old white, pale flesh grapefruit, the ones that are almost yellowy in color on the inside. Those did have a lot more bitterness and sourness to them, and the newer ones nowadays have been bred for more sweetness. So, big difference.
Right, yeah, that wasn't so bad. Not so bad.
Yeah, you got ruby red and Texas sweet. There's plenty of different varieties that get plenty of good flavor in the grapefruit.
Oof. Bitter though, strange that is. It's like I'm in the middle, 50-50. It's like grapefruit is okay. It's not it's not dreadful. I won't be crawling through the desert one day and water and come across a grapefruit and be like, fuck that. Now I will be able to survive a little bit longer because I will eat that grapefruit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, if you're hungry enough, you'll eat anything, man. If I'm crawling through the desert and dying and need substance, I'll eat Turkish delight. I'm okay with that,
Yeah, you know what I mean? There's it's like on a scale,
Exactly.
Would you eat this? Depends
If
how
I'm gonna
fucking hungry
die.
I am. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
What's
it.
this IPA? Did you have IPA last week, Monkey?
I did last week.
Or what is IPA? Is that a type of beer?
India Pale
Yeah.
Ale, IPA.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
Hoppy, usually, not always, but usually a little bit more alcohol content and more hops.
Okay.
Supposedly it was brewed, or the origins of IPA it was made like in England and shipped to India, so they had to have it last longer in the bottle. So they up the alcohol content and the hop content so it would travel better.
Nice. And in return, we got hash.
Exactly.
And hops and cannabis are related, if you didn't know.
Indeed.
They are, actually. That's why they pair so well together, I think, cannabis and beer.
That's right. That's why it's nice to have a spliff and a beer on a nice hot
that's
summer's day. A spliff and a beer and a grapefruit. A little bit Turkish delight.
Go.
Then we're having a party.
Hashimoto was saying in the chat that he likes to grill his with a bit of sugar. So there you go.
Okay.
Sounds very summery.
Yeah, I don't know about it being warm. Warm grapefruit just remind me too much like vomit. I don't know.
I don't know, man.
I
When
don't
you
know,
grill fruit, it changes it.
You've said a couple of weeks in a row, you're like, brew to grapefruit, brew to Turkish delight. And here you are. You're like, oh, it's not so bad.
I am an ignorant Englishman. I don't know what else you expect.
Right. Fair enough.
We really have to go out of our way to find these kind of things, But just hit that reefer. It's a bit harsh. Excuse me for coughing there, everybody. But yes, I think we are ready to move on to the news already. Is everybody ready? Is there anything else to cover here? I don't think so.
I know
right?
of.
We did the grapefruit challenge. Passed. Passed with flying colours.
Okay.
Yeah. So winner. chicken dinner. Next, he'll be loving the haggis. No, I've tried haggis and it's a no. You know, and I eat sick things, man. Haggis is no. My dogs
You
love
do
it,
like
but of course, dogs love it.
Of course they do.
Yes, indeed. Right, so any suggestions for, I think anchovety is going to be on the list there, but any suggestions for what we should try in future shows, let us know. Maybe a gram of penis envy next week. How does that taste? Yeah, God, they taste so bad. Anyway, let's do the news. Don't look, everybody. The news is on the screen. Don't look.
Oh no, they're getting
look,
a behind
look.
the scenes look of the show notes.
Oh, it's all right. I got
Uh-oh.
rid of it. I got rid of it. They might not have seen.
Behind the curtain again. There we go.
Yeah, so, excuse me. That spliff is delicious, by the way. And, you know, it just hits you just right. Compliments to the grower. Why, thank you. Right, so there's one article which you're going to move on with straight away. We're not even going to mess around here. There's an article that was sent to me. I can't remember who it was sent to me by. Apologies out there. I think it was sent on Discord. But this was sent to me yesterday by a listener. And I'll just read the headline out so you know what we're going to be starting with here. We have Britain's reputation as the home of the rule of law. I didn't know we had that reputation. Is in tatters. Labour, which is one of our political parties, can fix it with these 3 pledges. Right. I don't want to rant too much about politics in the UK because we all know by now that it's really shit. But Labour can't fix anything. They can't fix it. They're a useless party just like the Tories are. We have these 2 parties we could potentially run this country, and both of them are piles of shit. You know, the whole turd sandwich and giant douche fucking thing. That's where we are here in the UK. So Labour, they can't fix it. But let's see what this guy thinks. Just some random guy. Because one of these is important to us as cannabis consumers. Legalizing cannabis, removing racial bias from convictions, and reforming legal aid will help repair the damage of Tory misrule. And that's it. Will only help repair. It's not like it's going to repair the whole fucking thing because goddamn the Tories have fucked this country. I don't think it's solely them. I think it's bigger than that. But I don't think Labour could do a good job either. They're all shit.
So
Sorry,
just because I'm not familiar with British politics, which one is conservative and which one is considered liberal?
The Tories are considered conservatives. That's like the Republican Party, and then we have Labour, which is like the Democrats.
Good. Okay, now I understand. We're good.
It's the best way to explain it. They're not quite as extreme on either side, you know, because I think the gap in between the Democrat and Republican is bigger than the gap between the Tories and Labour. They're pretty much the same party. They just wear different colour ties, and they don't want us to know that they're pretty much the same party. You know what I mean?
Right.
The legal system here, the government in the UK is fucked. But I'll read through some of this. The criminal justice systems in Britain, the home of the rule of law, are broken. England and Wales together spent more on prisons than any other country in Europe except Russia. Now bear that in mind for a second, everybody, how we're always told about how Russia and China are these terrible places and they don't allow freedom of speech and they don't let you do this and that. And I know they are probably worse. I don't live there, but they're probably worse than the UK. But still, we have our problems too. We spent more on prisons than Russia did. We have a population of 65 million people here in the UK. They've got like, 130 million or something? I can't even remember the population of Russia, but it's at least double what we have. And we're spending more on prisons than Russia? Jesus.
No, except Russia.
Except Russia. Oh.
Right.
Oh.
Russia's
right.
still, but
yeah, that weed's strong.
but every other country in Europe.
But I wouldn't be surprised. So I'll carry on here. There is a backlog of almost 65,000 cases as defendants wait for years to have their day in court, and with recent figures showing 42% of prisoners who take their own lives are on remand, meaning they haven't been sentenced. This purgatory is costing not just money but lives. So essentially people are waiting for their court case for so long, and they have this anxiety But, you know, any time their door could come off and they're going to be coming dragged away for court by the old bill because, you know, they might have missed the court date or they missed the letter. I don't know what kind of pressure you're living in under those sort of circumstances, you know what I mean? It must be shit just waiting for a court case for fucking years. Martin would know, and his court case is in 2 days on the 5th, so we'll check in with him soon. Anyway, yeah, it's sad about people are taking their own lives while just waiting for a court case. At a time of dwindling resources, here are a concrete manifesto commitments that an incoming Labour government should make. Right, so this is the first one. Fully legalise cannabis. Since Uruguay became the first nation state to fully legalise cannabis in 2013, Canada and half of the states in the US have followed suit, with a number of other countries having decriminalised the drug. Now, the trend has come to Europe, with Malta and Germany having passed bills through their legislatures legalising the drug. The Netherlands and the Czech Republic and Luxembourg are closely behind. Interestingly, these countries are being confronted with opposition by the European Union. This is one of the reasons why we left them, which is trying to block the creation of a cannabis market on the continent. For better or worse, this is a problem the UK no longer faces, meaning that British cannabis reform could steal a march on its European neighbours at a time when none of the other promised Brexit dividends appear to be paying off. Because let's face it, Brexit has been a shambles. The country is not better off like we expected it to. And there's many different reasons for that. Whether you voted to leave or not, there's different reasons why we still haven't become as prosperous as people expected. But stepping out of the European Union like that gives us the opportunity to legalise and make a proper cannabis market. But they haven't done it. And any government that is going to fully legalise cannabis and stand there and tell the population, I think we were kind of wrong about this whole cannabis thing. We're gonna like make it legal. Sorry, let's try and move forward from this. I would have a lot of respect for a party who would do that. Not just because I'm a cannabis user, but they can accept that they were wrong to inflict this shit upon the population in the first place, and they're trying to address the problems and move forward rather than just keeping hold of laws which we know do not work and just make things worse. You know what I mean? It's a piss take, man. I think the fact that cannabis has been illegal, and not just cannabis but other drugs as well, I think it's had a massive impact on the trust people have for the government, you know, and for the police as well. If the policy enforcers weren't chasing people around just because they got harmless herb in their pocket, then we'd have a lot more respect for them. Yeah, very interesting, I find. Yeah, so this guy's recommended that Labour legalise cannabis. And it's not going to happen. The leader of the Labour Party, Keir Starmer, he has no plans to legalise cannabis. He's said many, many times he's pretty much anti-cannabis. So it's not going to happen if he gets into power. And the party we have in power right now, they're not going to change it either. So it just doesn't like it's going to happen for us ordinary folk. We're not going to be getting legalised cannabis anytime soon. It's all to do with medical. Interesting. What do you think of that? I mean, there's others that they can come up with a huge list of things, like expunge convictions based on racial bias. Is something they've brought up here, and we do need a better justice system in the UK and all over the world to make sure that it's fair for everybody. So that should always be addressed. And when we think that we've got it right, it should still be little fucking improvements as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
And, we should always try and have a better justice system, and there should be no racial bias in any way in the justice system. And that's the reason why we have the justice system in the first place, to try and give people fair trials so everybody is treated fairly in the court of law. You know what I mean? So the fact that there's racial bias at all is just ridiculous, and that needs to be addressed. And reform legal aid. This one is a little bit more complicated. People getting the funding they need to take people to court when they've been wronged, that was taken away from the public. Just money that poor people could use to go to court if they needed to and couldn't afford it, you know, but that all got cut, so there's a lot of problems there. Pretty much the government and the Labour Party, if they want to win the next election, they need to stand more for the people. That's essentially what this is. Fix the fucking justice system. It needs a huge overhaul, the justice system in this country. It's an absolute fucking joke. There are not enough police out there. The police don't have the resources they need. You know, the ones that are there don't have the resources that they need. And a lot of their resources are wasted on shit like chasing people down for possession of a harmless herb. You know, so
True.
that needs to be addressed. If we can make cannabis legal, that gives the police a lot more time and resources to be tackling real crime like gang warfare and shit. It's madness, man. It's madness. I could find so many articles where you'd be like, I brought one up a few weeks ago and I'll bring it up again. That kid who was stabbed in the head, and the person who did it to him just had to write a letter of apology.
Right.
Fuck.
Stupid.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, put yourself in, be the parent of that kid that got stabbed. How would you feel about that? Like, that's stupid, you know? Oh, he has to say he's sorry. Oh, that's fine then. No, it's
So,
not.
yeah, send it. That's cool. Thanks for the letter. Make sure you put a return address on it now, kid.
So I can send you a thank you note for the letter, you know?
You know what I'm saying? The prisons are full anyway. You know. Let's not go on them kind of tangents. Jesus, but we all know what the fucking score is. If somebody did that to your kid and they had to send a letter of apology, they'll be making fucking movies about you, wouldn't they? And we all know it. But damn. Yeah, so I could read into more detail of this article, but I just thought I'd bring that to people's attention because I think it was interesting that this guy, the first thing he has on the list, that if Labour want to make a difference, then to fully legalize cannabis is the first thing that they should be doing. And I think that is just about right. I mean, what they have power of, because there's many things they could do, but they might not be in a position where they can do things about it. You know, they don't have the legal power. But to fully legalize cannabis, we can do that. We're not in the EU anymore. You know, we need something to boost the economy because ours is performing pretty fucking badly right now in comparison to everybody else. We're actually in a recession. So this could open up a whole new market in the UK that's worth hundreds of millions or even billions of pounds every year, can give jobs to maybe 100,000 people, maybe even more. You know,
Yeah, man, I think that some of these estimates on the monies here are actually falling short of what the reality is. 'Cause, I mean, I've seen numbers like just this morning, it was something like Missouri sold $1.2 billion in cannabis in its first year.
Wow.
I mean, come on, that's a ton. I mean, and that's not our biggest state or anything like that. So yeah, look at the population density in the UK. Putting legal cannabis out there for sale would generate tons of sales, tons of taxes. You know,
it would change things so much, man. I don't even think we can comprehend just how much it would change, like the zeitgeist. You know, the way that people feel, the spirit of the people in the country. People used to go to pubs here in the UK. You know, you'd just go there for a couple of hours, have a couple of pints, but then alcohol became too expensive and people can't afford it anymore. They can just sit at home and have 4 beers, you know, the 4 pints, 4-pint cans for the same price they would buy a pint if they was in a pub, and people can't afford it. So pubs have shut down all across the country and people are nowhere near as sociable as they used to be. And if you was to legalize cannabis and make cannabis consumption lounges a thing in this country, they would be full every fucking day, man.
Yeah,
with
man.
all sorts of people as well. You know, the young kids with their hands down the trousers and the mask on, you know, the ones from the drill videos, you know, and then you'll have the old guys as well, you know, the 60, 70-year-old stoners who just enjoy weed, and they'll be talking together and associating with each other, and the divide would be lessened. You know what I mean? People will be coming closer together and understand we don't need to be afraid of each other so much. And maybe that's why they don't want to legalize it.
Hey, you're preaching to the choir, man. I know exactly what you're talking about. So yeah, just convince the labor and the Tories to get together and do something here, you know?
Yeah.
I know. It's like telling them, why don't you get those Republicans and Democrats to agree on something? It ain't gonna happen.
Oh no, they'd agree on things. You know what they'd agree on? Go into fucking war and sending our kids off to a front line in a foreign land. That's what they fucking agree on every fucking time. But man, look at me, I'm getting wound up. We're gonna move on to another story.
Yeah, we better.
Yeah, we're gonna move on to another story. But yes, Labour government, we have no hope, Labour or Tory. It doesn't matter. You know, put a different captain on the sinking ship, it's still gonna fucking sink. What's the next news article we have here, Monkey? You have some stuff for us.
Oh yeah, now this one's kind of interesting here. It's like a Maryland dispensary was fined $26,000 for selling cannabis retrieved from a dumpster.
Wow.
Talk about your dumpster dive, huh? That's crazy. Okay,
Imagine finding that, you know, you just...
That's what I was thinking when I first read the article. It's like, of all these people that go exploring and hunting through dumpsters, imagine opening that thing up. It's like, whoa.
That would
That
be a
would be,
good day.
it would be a good day. Okay, Baltimore. A Maryland dispensary has been fined $26,000 for selling cannabis that sat in a dumpster for 2 days, according to a consent order from the Maryland Cannabis Administration. According to the consent order, 224 grams of cannabis were thrown into a dumpster outside of Curio's Far and Daughter Dispensary. I thought that I said father and daughter almost there, but where it sat for 41 hours and 9 minutes. Surveillance footage showed that 3 dispensary employees retrieving 4 boxes containing prepackaged product from the dumpster. More
I'm
footage
just thinking
showed
there.
another employee-
Sorry, Monkey. You know the whole father and daughter thing. Maybe it was just the guy who didn't have his dentures in that day or something. When he
Well,
was
I mean, some
phoned up the company for the sign. What you want in it? For father and daughter.
I didn't want to go there, but that's where I was thinking when I read that. It's like, okay.
He's like, yeah,
I
we
don't
got you,
know.
bro. We'll send the sign. It's gonna be there in a week.
Okay. So anyway, they 41 hours and 9 minutes, they retrieved more footage showed the other employee repackaged the cannabis, removing them from the original boxes and placing them into plastic bags before storing them inside of a vault. Now, question I have right there, Marge, you might know this, you might not, because I know you at one time were a bud tender.
Mhm.
Isn't inventory supposed to be pretty closely controlled by law? You don't just like, oh, this
Yeah.
cannabis is old. You don't just go throw it in the trash can and put it out on the curb, do you?
No, I don't think you do. And I don't know how you would like, you can't sell weed out of a plastic bag. Like,
No.
like it was all
Well,
packaged and they had like the excise stamps on them too that had to be unbroken, like they would break when you open the container or whatever.
yeah, I
No.
know that a lot of these municipalities are really concerned about what's called diversion, when you take cannabis that's legally grown or illegally and move it from market to market. You move it like that. So it sounds like you're supposed to. I don't know. I don't have a license. I don't run a dispensary. I don't know any of that stuff like that. But it just seems like with the laws the way they are, it's supposed to be tracked from seed to sale. And all
And
of a
there's
sudden,
also like inventory, like everything would be put
yeah,
into inventory. And yeah,
yeah.
I don't know what they were, I don't know how.
So
There's a
yeah.
lot of
Anyway,
questions here.
so my question was, yeah. So yeah, you're right. You're on it with me there. Since it seems like it's just wrong, you don't just throw weed in a dumpster. So anyway,
No,
the
no.
employee informed an investigator from the MCA that the cannabis had been placed in the plastic bags because the original packages were covered with a liquid acquired from the dumpster, according to the order.
No,
Dumpster juice. All right.
no, no.
Dumpster juice.
It's worse. Oh,
In an
okay.
email, an inventory manager said he advised that the product be destroyed as it violates several compliance requirements, but management insisted on not losing the profit. They then the location sold the product between July 28th and August 3rd, 2023, raking in a total amount of $3,174.50 in sales. So I did the math.
Oof.
They sold this dumpster weed for $14 a gram. That's pretty good
Oh.
price for dumpster weed.
Damn, the cheeky bastards. That's shocking, man.
It is.
It's just
Damn.
worse though, and like I don't know whatever liquid substance was on top of this stuff, but
Dumpster juice, man. That's all I
and
can
if
say.
they were
Everybody
saying
knows
too,
dumpster juice.
the product should be destroyed, I would assume that they'd be able to return it somehow.
Well, I mean, it didn't have dumpster juice on it before they threw it in the dumpster, but definitely when they got it out, yeah. I guarantee you, if they would have fessed up and told the customer where it came from and how it was treated, that the customer wouldn't have bought it, especially not at the
No,
full
I'm
price.
sure. Like you're like, hey, this came from the dumpster with a bunch of random juice on it. Are you interested?
Exactly.
For
Let me
$14
put
a
terpenes
gram
on.
plus
A little
tax?
bit of dumpster terpene on this one here, you know? All right. The manager's employment at Far and Daughter was terminated on or about August 20th, 2023, according to the order. In an email statement, a spokesman for Curio said the company prides itself on relationships with its customers and employees. The Baltimore Banner reported relationships with its customers by serving dumpster weed. The aforementioned product was inside sealed jars within sealed boxes, and it was undisputed that no outside material ever breached the jars or touched the product, the statement said. Curio also said that they have conducted an internal investigation and that Non-adherence to safety and compliance requirements is not taken lightly or tolerated. In addition to the $26,000 fine, the company was ordered to submit its green waste logs for month reviews by the MCA. Submit and scale calibrations and cleaning logs for the monthly review, and retrain staff on green waste procedures. So evidently, there are green waste procedures. There is a process for destroying whatever is considered no good anymore. And it's not throw it in a dumpster and walk away.
No,
And
probably not.
And this just it backs up the whole home grow thing again. You know, this place in Maryland, this is going to have a lot of regulations, as you can tell. You know, they have to count how much weed they get rid of and shit.
Yeah.
It's like, that's a lot of regulations, man. And it's still that you're smoking some weed out the bin here if you're buying that shit. You know when you're not smoking weed out the bin? When it's your own fucking homegrown and you put it in the jars yourself.
Right.
Right?
If
I
I
mean,
got
you
weed
know
that I
they
want to
go
throw
dumpster
away.
juice on that stuff.
Exactly. It
That's
stays in
a
the dumpster.
strain name as well, right there. Shit.
Oh, yeah, but
Dumpster
I-
juice.
Dumpster diver is. I actually thought about that strain name when I read this. Somebody needs to make a dumpster diver strain. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's called like cat piss.
Yeah, that's
You start
gotta be
with
the
that one.
Shit.
Yeah.
Get some of that
Yeah.
stuff that smells like sick and all that nasty
Right.
stuff. Oh yeah, we could make up one. Dumpster
One of those
diver.
cheese strains that is pungent cheese strain. What
There
I
you
find
go.
interesting about this though is this inventory management manager who got fired said they should destroy the product because it violates several compliance requirements. So
Mhm.
it sounds like, if I'm understanding it correctly, they put it in the dumpster in the first place because the weed was already problematic
Mm.
in some of it. And then the
Yeah.
management's like, oh no, but we don't want to lose any money. Let's get it
Yeah.
out of the dumpster. Just clean off the dumpster juice and then put it back on the shelves.
Fuck.
So-
Just the idea of having the dumpster juice brought back into the store to clean it off is bad enough for me.
No one
It's
gets
like,
paid enough for
really?
that. Come on.
No.
You know, it's like, mate, I know the weed's supposed to be sticky, but why is the jar sticky?
Oh!
The fuck is this?
Oh.
I think it might be jizz, sir.
Yeah, you just don't know.
Yeah, fucking hell. But
Oh.
this is another thing as well. These guys got a $26,000 fine, which is substantial compared to like 9 times the amount of money they made from selling that cannabis. So it's a big dent for them. But this doesn't happen in the legacy market. The guy, there could be anything wrong with weed. He ain't gonna get no fine. He don't care who he sells it to, or she.
Right.
Sorry, don't just
That's
want to
true.
assume all drug dealers are male. But you know, this shit doesn't happen in the legacy market. So that weed will be going out there infected, and nobody is held responsible for it. So this is another reason why we need legislation. You know what I'm saying?
I agree. Now, I would be curious to find out, why was the weed discarded in the first place? Why did they think it was so bad that it had to be put in there? And suddenly, well, it's not that bad. So was it moldy? Was it stale? Was it dry? Was it wet? What was it? But they didn't say that. But they were still able to sell it for $14 a gram.
Wow.
So crazy.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
fucking crazy, man. The price is incredible. And again, this is why you have to
Yeah.
grow your own. There's so many reasons in this article, everybody, that encourage you to go and grow your own cannabis, man. It's easy to learn how to. We have all the grow guides. You just head over to our website, highonhomegrown.com, grow guide section. There's 100 episodes there that'll teach you everything you need to know how to grow. And we also have our forum, percysgrowroom.com, where you can come and ask any questions and learn how to grow cannabis there as well. So that's the best thing you can do. If you want the good shit and you can
And-
rely on it in the bin. Sorry, Marge?
I would say the forum is free, unlike the $20 Canadian dollars I'd spend on 1 gram of that dumpster shit.
Jesus. That's a good point.
$20 Canadian.
It's not free anymore. We've just changed the price to $14 for a year, all right? If you're willing to buy dumpster weed, $14, you can pay for a fucking forum membership, all right?
Right.
Jesus.
Really, man. Yeah, the thing is, you grow your own and you'll never run out of top quality, the best weed you've ever smoked. Yeah, basically,
and you
there,
just know where it's come from, man. It's such a major selling point.
And you
when
know
you're
everything
buying
that
it,
went into it, everything.
Mhm. You just
That's
don't know
right.
where
Get
it's all
buying
come
your own
from, man.
supply.
And I often think that about my phone. You know, when I've got my phone in my hand, I know, like, what would it be like if you could track every single piece of everything that's gone into building this fucking thing? You know what I mean? And see the factories that it's been coming out of in, undeveloped countries and shit. Be crazy, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway, that's a different tangent. We have some health news, which I think we covered something similar to this before, so they're still trying to push this agenda, this narrative, but maybe it's true. Well, I'd like to see studies and stuff, but this is for you to cover, right, Marge?
Yes. The age-old smoking cannabis associated with increased risk of heart attack and stroke. This study, or this article was published on February 28th, so it's pretty recent, but the NIH-funded observational study shows risk grows sharply with more frequent use. Frequent cannabis smoking may significantly increase a person's risk for heart attack and stroke, according to an observational study by the National Institutes of Health. The study, published in the Journal of the American Heart Association, uses data from nearly 435,000 American adults and is the largest ever to explore the relationship between cannabis and cardiovascular events. The study, funded by the National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute, part of the NIH, found that daily use of cannabis, predominantly through smoking, was associated with a 25% increased likelihood of heart attack and a 42% increased likelihood of stroke when
That's
compared to
substantial. That is,
non-drug use.
damn.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that is pretty substantial.
Mm.
Less frequent use was also associated with an increased risk of cardiovascular events. Weekly users showed a 3% increased likelihood of heart attack and a 5% increased likelihood of stroke. Around 75% of the study respondents reported that they mainly used cannabis by smoking the drug. Apparently, 25% of the respondents reported using cannabis by some other method other than smoking, such as vaping, drinking, or eating. We know that the toxins are released when cannabis is burned, similar to those found in tobacco smoke, said corresponding author Abra Jeffers, PhD, a data analyst at Massachusetts General Hospital in Boston, and formerly a researcher at the Center for Tobacco Control Research and Education at the University of California, San Francisco, where she conducted the study as part of her postdoctoral work. We've known for a long time that tobacco smoking is linked to heart disease, and this study is evidence that smoking cannabis appears to be a risk factor for cardiovascular disease, which is the leading cause of death in the United States, Jeffers said. Cannabis use can be an important, underappreciated source of heart disease. Researchers note that while the exact mechanisms linking cannabis to heart disease are unclear and were not explored in the current study, multiple factors could play a role. In addition to toxins, endocannabinoid receptors, the part of the cells responsible for recognizing THC, the main psychoactive ingredient in cannabis, are widespread in the body's cardiovascular tissue and might facilitate heart risks. Cannabis consumption has increased significantly within the past 20 years nationwide, as negative perceptions of its use have declined, according to government surveys of drug use in health. In the US, cannabis is now legal in 38 states for medicinal use and 24 states for recreational. Some studies have linked its regular use to impaired brain development and lung damage, as well as certain cardiovascular diseases. However, there are gaps in knowledge about the adverse effects of cannabis on the heart. To look more closely at associations between cannabis use and health, Jeffers and her research team used 2016 to 2020 data from the Behavioral Risk Factor Surveillance Survey of the Center of Disease Control and Prevention. The National Cross-Sectional Survey, performed annually by the CDC, included 434,000 adults ages 18 to 74 from 27 U.S. states and 2 territories. Most of the respondents were white, while about 12% were Black, 19% Hispanic, and 9% other race or ethnicity. The researchers evaluated the association of cannabis smoking, the number of days the participants said they smoked the drug in the past 30 days, with self-reported cardiovascular outcomes, including coronary heart disease, heart attack, stroke, and a composite measure of all three. They adjusted for their participants' use of tobacco and other characteristics, including their age, sex, race, body mass index, or BMI, obesity, diabetes, physical activity levels, and socioeconomic status. This is an important public health finding, particularly given our ongoing efforts to reduce the burden of heart disease in this country, said David C. Goff, MD, PhD, director of NHLBI's Division of Cardiovascular Scientists. Asking patients about their cannabis use during routine medical exams or physicals is much the same way they might be asked about tobacco use, will help us learn more about the long-term effects of cannabis on the body, Jeffers said. And that's pretty much it.
You see the typo there where it says he study fundly large
Yes.
because they missed the T there.
The T.
Yeah.
Yes.
Shameful.
Sort yourself out. NHS
Right. This makes us feel
NIH.gov
irrelevant.
with your mistakes and errors.
Yeah.
You're making us look bad.
The
Well,
only
I
thing
forgot-
they didn't really talk about though, like they said they adjusted for participants' use of tobacco and other characteristics, but they didn't look at things like, I guess they did look at physical activities and socioeconomic status, but they didn't really talk about diet or anything like that either.
Mm-hmm.
No,
But we got body
they didn't.
mass indexed.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did look at quite a lot, but still, did it say how many people as well? Was it substantial as including 3,000,
So over
434,000?
430,000.
So it's
Yeah.
extensive as well. You know, it's a
Yeah.
lot of people. They've looked at a lot of different factors. It seems to be reasonably legit. But what you want to see is a study just like it done somewhere else and see if they come up with the same results. You know, you need to do these double-blind studies before they can start making
Right.
grandiose claims about things.
Yeah, I'd like to actually see the study maybe dissected a little further, because if reading through the study, the article, it obviously sounds like they think the smoking of the cannabis is the
Right.
biggest risk. So I would be curious, okay, what about people who vape daily or maybe use edibles daily? What is that going to do? I'd love to hear that study.
I think it's like from the carbon monoxide and shit from when you're inhaling, and the carcinogens from when the actual
like
herbs and the
combustion.
papers are
Yeah.
burning. You know.
Yeah,
Right.
but I'd like to see, you know, is it the herb or is it the consumption of the herb? What is actually causing the damage? So yeah, by all means, reproduce this somewhere else and maybe break it up further.
Yeah, the different consumption methods would be really interesting to see. And also, hey, everybody, make some edibles. Go to Bite Me, the show about edibles.
That's
I'll talk
right.
about it.
I do it every day, Marge. Every day I do my edibles. I love them.
No, you know,
Yeah.
smoking's bad, man. You have to do it as little as possible. You know, and I used to smoke a ridiculous amount of joints, man, like 10 joints a day or something. But when I was mixing it with tobacco, and then I quit for a couple of years, and then I've come back to cannabis, and now I smoke like 1 joint a day, and just pure weed, no tobacco in it and shit. So there's a big difference. And I'm just as stoned as I was smoking 10 joints a day with the tobacco in, you know. And that's something that has to be taken into consideration as well, is how many joints are you smoking? I'm much happier just smoking just 1 joint. You know, just a few hits gets me good and high.
Right.
And
Well,
then,
your
you know,
tolerance has gone down because you're not smoking as much.
yeah, and
So,
I'm trying to keep it down by not smashing it, you know?
right. Yeah, and you save a lot of money that way, and you save on, the amount. You don't have to, well, you can grow as much. You'll just go longer, grow farther. Yeah. The one thing I'm
missus
not
still
sure
smokes
about
well, so.
this study, though, is they say they evaluated the association of cannabis smoking, like the number of days people smoke, because they said it was obviously the negative outcomes are a lot higher if you smoked daily.
Mhm.
But it looks like it was a 30-day. It was self-reported cardiovascular outcomes, and people. It looked like they tracked it for 30 days. Am I reading that right?
Oh, I
Um,
don't
Not
know
really
where
sure how
I
they
am.
What's that?
Where? Oh yeah, we got it here. The researchers evaluated the Association of Cannabis Smoking. The number of days participants said they smoked the drug in the past 30 days. Okay, so so it's only for the last month. It's not like it was a long thing, is it?
Yeah,
Right.
like, did people actually have heart attacks in that month during this study? I don't know how robust
Yeah,
this.
It's interesting.
it's a good teaser, but yeah, I'm with you, Marge. Just needs to be looked at a little deeper.
Yeah, yeah, it might be a good starting point to ask better questions and make better studies.
Hey, what does everybody in chat think of this one? You know, in the comments, what do you all think? You think cannabis is causing 25% more heart attacks and 42% more strokes? Do you think that's the case?
Seems high. It does
Yeah,
seem
I'm gonna
high.
say I'm skeptical as fuck.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
a large percentage change, and they usually have some kind of agenda. You know, who's funded this study? That's always something that needs to be looked into.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And it was big. It was fucking Anheuser-Busch sponsored this fucking study. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, sure, because you don't have an agenda. it's always good to stay skeptical, but it's also, you have to take these things into consideration as well. You know, maybe they're not lying. You know, so,
Hmm.
I don't know. Like Monkey says, there needs to be looked into a little bit more. I think I'd like to see another study similar coming up with the same results. It's not like I'd like to see the same results. I just want to see if this is accurate or not.
It'd
Very
be neat
interesting.
if they could reproduce the study at the same time in different locations and see
Mhm.
if okay, is this causation versus correlation?
You know,
What's up there? You know,
real science and stuff. You know, the scientific method.
I'd love
Imagine
it.
that. Imagine that.
Yeah.
Right, so we have here some BBC news, everybody. So we know this is going to be high quality, right? We all love the BBC news. This is a little bit fucked because it's from the UK. But ADHD medication shortage. Cannabis clinic sees spike in patients. Essentially, from what this heading is telling us here, I think ADHD medicine might be like Ritalin. It's some kind of amphetamine. And there's been a shortage of that medication. So, and this medication would be from the NHS because it's one of those things that the NHS can offer, unlike cannabis medicine, which they could offer. They do offer to 3 people. But anyway, so people can't get this shit from the NHS now. So they're going to these private cannabis clinics where you have to pay £50 for a consultation. And then you'd have to pay for the cannabis on top of that, which is about £50 for 10 grams of mids, irradiated mids. You know, so you can see that the private medical cannabis companies in the UK are going to be doing very well in the near future. Let me just read a little bit more of this article to you. And again, this is from the BBC. You can find it over at bbc.co.uk if you just search for cannabis. We have cannabis clinics have seen a spike in ADHD patients accessing their services amid a national medication shortage, a BBC Northwest investigation has found. One medical cannabis clinic said they had seen a 86% increase in ADHD patients nationally over the last year. That's crazy, right?
It is.
86% increase.
Something's up.
Do you think like the doctors are there? They've gone and like, we still don't have your ADHD medicine in, Timmy. So I recommend you go and check out one of these private cannabis clinics. I recommend Sapphire. You know, maybe they're getting paid off or something. I wouldn't say that was allowed in the UK, but you never know nowadays. But would you think that the GPs are telling them to go and do this?
I don't know. That would almost be knowing the law in the UK. That might be counterproductive because you guys keep saying that you have to go to a doctor who specializes in cannabis to have it prescribed. So I would think other doctors might be afraid to talk about it because of the law.
Yeah.
Mhm.
86% increase. Crazy. Where in the Northwest, the number of patients being treated with cannabis at one clinic rose by half in 2023. Research director Dr. Simon Eridge said it was natural for people to explore other options amid the shortage. It's natural for people to explore other options anyway, not just down to the shortage. If cannabis can help with ADHD, it should have been used as an option a long time ago before you started sticking amphetamines into people. Fucking do no harm. Kiss my ass, you lying bastards. Excuse me.
Another Mackie ran on the way, guys. Here goes.
The Department of Health and Social Care told the BBC while there were no cannabis-based medicines licensed for the treatment of ADHD on the NHS, specialist clinicians can prescribe cannabis-based products where clinically appropriate and in the best interest of the patient. Before 2018, almost all cannabis-based medicines products were classed as Schedule 1 drugs, which meant they were judged to have no therapeutic value. Cannabis products could not be legally prescribed in the UK and could be accessed only in rare cases with a special license from the Home Office. Since November 2018, treatments that meet appropriate standards have been reclassified into Schedule 2, those that have a potential for medical use. Dr. Eridge of Cure Relief Clinic said, "I have no conflict of interest here." He didn't say that. Dr. Eridge of Cure Relief Clinic said, "A lot of people with ADHD may try a number of different medications to find the one that works best for them. If that's suddenly taken away by shortages, it's only natural for people to explore other options, and there is no reason why that might not include medical cannabis." And, there's no reason to put that word medical there, Dr. Erridge. Just saying. Just cannabis. You don't need to say medical cannabis. It's all the same shit.
It is. I mean, I guarantee you, you go to the dispensary, it's the same stuff out the same jar they're selling you. One's been taxed higher. That's all it is.
So Dr. Erridge said clinics like his had carried out research on the effects of cannabis on ADHD, but acknowledged there hasn't been enough high-quality data to make medical cannabis available on the NHS. Convenient, right? That's fucking convenient. It's like, oh, it may be. We're still on maybe here. Fuck yeah. Yeah, still not available on the NHS, everybody. So is this the way we're heading now? Is the government just gonna stop giving people all different kinds of medicine? Oh, there's a shortage, but check out this cannabis clinic over here. All you have to do is pay £50 you don't have to see a doctor. You don't need to get cannabis. That's shit. Jesus, this fucking place is getting worse all the time, man. I'm not going to go on a mad rant, though. We're going to carry on. We still need a higher quality of evidence for NHS decision makers to be able to say that ADHD is appropriate for people on a population basis rather than on a case-to-case basis, he said. What is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD? Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder is a condition that affects people's behavior. People with ADHD can seem restless, may have trouble concentrating, and may act on impulse. Most cases are diagnosed when children are under 12 years old, but sometimes it is diagnosed later in childhood. However, on occasions, ADHD was not recognized at all when someone was a child and they are diagnosed later as an adult. John Ferrer, 34, from Ramsbottom, that's an actual name of a place in the UK, Greater Manchester, was prescribed medical cannabis for his ADHD just over a year ago and said it had transformed his life. And when they say prescribed medical cannabis, this means he paid the money to go to the specialist, with finger quotation marks, to buy the cannabis from the government's friend who was allowed to open a fucking cannabis clinic, because you can't sell it from your house. You know what I mean? That's against the rules. You can't grow it yourself. That's against the rules. But if you got a friend in government where you can buy a license, you can get your greenhouse up and running and grow 100,000 plants, and then you can sell it to the medical cannabis company, which they've sealed off the rest of the market to. There is no competition in this market. It's all yours, sir. Thanks for your campaign contributions. It's so crooked. Does nobody see the corruption?
I see it. I hear it.
Like anyone seeking treatment, Mr. Ferrer had to first try traditional medications. They force you to take the big pharma stuff before they let you have cannabis, which in my opinion is terrible. Cannabis should be the first thing. If cannabis doesn't work, if the natural medicine that doesn't need to come from a laboratory, that's never killed anybody, works, use that first. It just makes sense to us, doesn't it? We're just preaching to the choir.
Yeah.
Whenever I have cannabis, instead of having layered thoughts, I'm able to have a one-track thought and focus on what I'm doing rather than having 1,000 projects on my mind, he said. I know we all relate to that, right? When your mind's just racing, tick, 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 a few draws of a joint there, and you're like, yes, okay, now calm down. Now, which foot does this shoe go on? You know what I mean? I get stressed at myself a lot before and internalize and think negative things as my mind was racing. Mr. Ferrer, who provides technology support for disabled students, said he previously self-medicated with illegal cannabis. Why say just cannabis? You don't need to put the illegal word, like you don't need to put the medical. It's just cannabis. Something which made him feel like the black sheep of the family. Once I was given it legally, the stigma was gone. As soon as I was prescribed it, people understood this was not something you do recreationally. Mr. Farrer, who takes the drug 4 times a day using a vaporizer, said, I went through school, college, university, and I thought I had depression and anxiety, but really it was my mind racing and it was my ADHD. Treatment has changed my life. I can now talk to people, which I would think so. Because I'm quite an outgoing person, but I can't let anybody know about my cannabis use. So when I'm around new people, you're always kind of shy, a little bit reserved. You don't want them, You don't want to talk too much about yourself and let them know that you enjoy cannabis because it's against the law and shit. But when you can't be prosecuted for it, when you're not going to suffer any consequences for being in possession of it, then you can tell people. And if they've got a problem, then it's like, fuck you. But they were like, oh, I'll just call the police, tell them you got weed. You know, and they're like, oh, yeah, no, I can't be so much of a dick. But once you're like, yeah, go on, fucking call him, you prick. You know, it's going to change the way you have to try and be so reserved because you're not going to be held responsible for being in possession of a harmless herb, you know? And we have I'll finish that sentence, sorry. I can now talk to people I wouldn't have been able to have done that before. A DHSC spokesman said cannabis-based medicines were routinely funded by the NHS where there was clear evidence for their quality and safety and effectiveness. They added the government was taking an evidence-based approach to unlicensed cannabis-based treatments to ensure they are proved safe and effective. I fucking hate it when they put them two words together. They're trigger words for me. They are safe and effective. Just saying. Before they can be considered for rollout on the NHS more widely. Oh yeah, it's only been fucking 6 years. Don't worry. You know. Because we legalize, yeah, we're still not sure. Still, we've seen all of these people. How many tens of thousands of people in the UK now go to a private clinic to get their cannabis medicines? But all of those are lying. They're just spending their money for the fucking fun of it. What is
crazy?
Actually...
Wait a minute, Mackie. That's the statement right there. It says, said cannabis-based medicines are routinely funded by the NHS where there was clear evidence of their quality, safety, and effectiveness. Wait a minute. How many people are receiving cannabis on the NHS in England?
As far as I know, it's 3 people, and they're all young children for epilepsy. So
I mean, that makes it sound like they're doing a really good job.
Oh yeah,
actually hear the real fact. You know?
Because the BBC is it's government propaganda. That's simply what it is, and they want to just make sure that everybody thinks that the government is doing a great job when they fucking ain't, man. In so many different ways. Never mind the legality of cannabis and cannabis as medicine in the UK. Well, excuse me, they are doing a great job if you own one of these cannabis-based companies. If you've got a friend in the government with their crony capitalism and you're in a position where you can open a company like this and pay the bribe, you can pay the license fee, then you're good, you can go. But for ordinary people like us, don't you dare germinate those 2 cannabis seeds in your spare room. Don't you dare grow an auto flower in your back garden this year. Don't you dare. You will be arrested, you will be fined, you have a chance of losing your children. You could lose your job. It's absolutely fucking ridiculous. But you get these guys who can have their private clinics and you're forced to go to them if you need cannabis as medicine. You are forced to pay these fees, man. It's nothing short of extortion. Crony capitalism, crooked bullshit, and I'm fucking sick of it. So we should move on to the next article. What do we have next? Yeah, what do we have? Is this fuckery? Monkey, this is your one. Okay.
What's that?
Next, this next news article, there's a quadruple murder refutes myth that cannabis is safe.
Wait a minute. I think, this is another, quality news source here. This comes from the Telegraph, and
Right.
Just so you know, we'll start with that. Yeah, quadruple murder refutes myth that cannabis is safe, judge says. I'm sorry. Anytime I read an article like that, immediately I got to question it. This is crazy. Okay. The case of a cannabis addict who murdered 4 people in a psychotic frenzy should be taken as a lesson to all those who peddle the myth that cannabis is not dangerous, a judge has said.
Can we all just take a deep breath here? Like just every time that was fucked. That paragraph was fucked.
Lesson to all who peddle the myth that cannabis is not a dangerous drug, the judge said.
The case of a marijuana addict. Come on. Jesus. Hyperbole. Gosh.
That sounds so reefer madness as I look at the vintage reefer madness signs on my wall.
It's very much a reefer madness statement there. But anyway, Joshua Jacques, 29, stabbed to death his girlfriend Samantha Drummond, 27, and 3 of her family members. The mother, Tashada Oroki Afakudo, these names are hard, 45, the grandmother Dolet Hill, 64, and her husband Benton Burke, 58, in Bedminster, southeast London on April 25th, 2022. Jacques butchered all 4 within the space of a single evening following a bout of self-intoxication with drugs and alcohol. Okay, notice right here, drugs and what?
Yep. Yeah, I see that. I see that.
Alcohol.
But yeah,
Okay.
they're blaming the
make that
cannabis.
headline.
Yeah, they're not saying anything about the alcohol contributing to any of the psychosis. It's the cannabis they want to blame here. That's fine.
Jesus.
Prosecutors during the trial in December at the Old Bailey described a scene as a bloodbath that would not have looked out of place in a horror film. Immediately after the murders, Jacques video called his mother from a locked bathroom, yelling at her, "I'm ending it. I'm going to make a sacrifice." Armed police who arrived at the scene were met with the sight of Jacques naked and Jacques was naked and prostrate on the ground in praying position, shouting, "Allah take me, kill me now, get rid of me, and God, please forgive me." On Friday, Justice Bryan handed the killer 4 life sentences with a minimum of 46 years for the horrific catalog of murders inflicted in 3 generations at the same family.
And
Now,
they're
there's a lot-
blaming fucking cannabis for this?
Yeah,
Oh,
there's
God.
a lot to unpack in this one. But yeah, you know, first of all, anytime I see alcohol and cannabis together, you got to be careful. We all know this with alcohol and cannabis. Yes, you can mix them if you're very careful, but it can be very dangerous if you're not. So anytime I see something, you know, oh, it was horrible. The cannabis did it. He was drinking and smoking. Oh, he was
my
drinking.
God. This gets
Always
worse as it
remember,
goes on.
drinking, it
Oh.
does. Okay,
God.
psychosis. The court heard how Jacques had smoked cannabis since the age of 12 and had doubled his consumption in the last week running up to the killings. Now, I certainly don't have a problem with him doubling the amount he smoked at age 12. That should have been a very small amount back then. You know, Justice Bryan in sentencing said, "The tragedy that played out on April 25th, 2022 is a salutary lesson to all those who peddle the myth that cannabis is not a dangerous drug. No one is suggesting that the murders were religiously motivated. You never intended to make any sacrifices to your victims. This was simply a symptom of your psychosis." So the judge is blaming the cannabis. He's not blaming the kid. You didn't do it. The cannabis did this. Yep.
Yeah,
Okay. I didn't see the
I'm
cannabis
biting my
jump out the
tongue
bag and-
so hard
Yeah.
right now.
I didn't see the cannabis jump out that bag and kill anybody. Did you? You know, one of those things. Okay.
Fuck.
You're all well aware of the risk to your health of smoking skunk cannabis. Oh my
Mind
God.
altering super skunk.
When I read that earlier, I was like, oh my God, they had to use the skunk again, didn't they? You have doubled your consumption of cannabis in the weeks leading up to the killings. You may have consumed 7 grams of cannabis a day immediately before the killings. Now, 7 grams a day smoke, that's a good bit of cannabis, but I've seen
Can
it
I
done.
just say something really controversial here, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, please do.
If you smoke a quarter of an ounce of cannabis in a day and you still want to kill somebody, they were probably fucking dickheads, man. I'm sorry. I'm just joking. I'm sorry, YouTube. I mean, it's tragic story. But this is not down to the cannabis. This is down to the guy having problems in the first place. He just had cannabis as well. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, yeah.
I think
Yeah.
so too. I mean,
It'll
As
make
Billy
sense.
said, you know, it's never fun having a party with the in-laws. You know?
sorry, I had to laugh at that one. I know murder is not funny, but
That's
did get
right.
me a little bit.
We have to make light of it. That's all you can do.
All right. So Dr. Nigel Blackwood, a forensic psychiatrist for the prosecution, said the symptoms of manic behavior displayed were caused by the large amounts of cannabis Jacques had consumed. Jacques had been hospitalized in a psychiatric ward in 2018 and was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. He had denied 4 counts of murder, but jurors convicted him on each charge after the last December's trial, explaining that his decision was not to impose a whole life sentence. Judge Byron said Jacques was unlikely to pose the same risk to the public in his 70s. A very substantial minimum term will amount to a just punishment, he said. So that's just crazy. You know, that this guy had 11 previous convictions, 20 offenses.
Wow.
And he was not a model citizen here, but it offends me that the judge is basically pinning this straight on the cannabis, or actually it's being reported that way. I don't really know.
So, you know, at this point, who's to blame here?
Well, it's
If-
also crazy too. Maybe I shouldn't use the word crazy, but this guy's actually been hospitalized
He has.
in a psychiatric ward and
Mhm.
diagnosed with bipolar, and somehow it's the cannabis and not
Yeah.
the alcohol, not all these things. Like, I'm sure, if you already have bipolar and some other psychiatric issues, that cannabis may not be good for you to be consuming, but I'm pretty sure that had more to do with it than
A good bit,
than the
yeah.
weed.
Yeah.
Wow,
I mean, the
man.
quadruple order's no joke. Like that's you don't just yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, how it's shocking, but everything in this article, the psychosis,
The skunk.
all of this shit which they've gone through, man, and they blame it
Buzzwords,
on
man.
the weed. How are you
Yeah.
blaming this on the weed? 11 convictions for 20 offenses. It probably would have been doubled if he didn't smoke weed. You fucking dickheads. The weed kept him calm. Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's his mental health issues that were the cause of him committing 4 murders in one evening.
But the mental
Yeah.
health issues was caused by him smoking mind-altering super skunk from the age of 12.
Evidently so. That's what he said, you know. I don't
Fuck.
know. It's just it sounds like they're putting a little bit much of the blame here on that specific thing. But at least if you look at it this way, at least he wasn't going to be in jail the rest of his life. You know, like the judge said, he gave him a tough sentence, but he will be able to walk free later on.
Yeah, how long did he get? 30
Oh,
sweet years. Where was it?
40 something.
46.
46
And how old is he?
He'll be in the 70s when he's released, the article says.
Damn.
So yeah, he'll spend most of his life in jail, but he still has a chance to get out and see the light of day again if he does it right.
Tragic, man. They look like nice people as well. You see Mrs. Drummond's grandmother there. You know, just like cool people. So you can chill with these guys, you know? And these fucking... What a shame, man. What a shame. Tragic.
Yeah, I hate to see these kind of things, and I actually hate to see them misreported like this as well.
This wasn't down to the cannabis, everybody. Yeah.
Uh,
I'm
the
sure we all
cannabis
know
was-
that.
The cannabis was a factor, but it wasn't the factor. Put it that way.
Right,
you
and
know?
you're making it look like the factor.
No,
There's a lot of factors going on there.
exactly.
Tragic. Condolences to the family. That's some bad shit. And
Very
let's
much
hope that the sentence upholds and he doesn't get out on insanity in fucking 5 years or something. Because as I say, the justice system here is fucked. But we have some reversing of some laws going on in Thailand now.
Yeah.
This and we've reported on this recently, didn't we? Is this your one, Marge? You wanna? Yeah, this one's for you to cover, isn't it?
Yeah. This one is, as we've talked about before, Thailand legalized earlier, and now Thailand to ban recreational cannabis use by year-end, health minister says.
They're actually doing it. Crazy bastards.
Thailand will ban recreational use of cannabis by the end of this year, but continue to allow its use for medical purposes, the health minister told Reuters in an interview. After Thailand became the first country in Southeast Asia to free up medicinal use in 2018, and then recreational use in 2020 or 2022, tens of thousands of cannabis shops have sprung up in an industry projected to be worth up to 1.2 billion by next year. Critics say piecemeal rules were rushed out and adopted within a week of decriminalization, and the government has drafted a new law to regulate cannabis use that is expected to take effect by year end. The draft bill will go to cabinet for approval next month before heading to parliament to be passed before the end of the year. Health Minister Sholnan Shrikha said, "Without the law to regulate cannabis, it will be misused," Cholnan said Wednesday, referring to recreational use. The misuse of cannabis has a negative impact on Thai children, he added. In the long run, it could lead to other drugs. The previous government had failed to push legalization or legislation through parliament before the general election of last May, leaving Thailand without an umbrella law to regulate its use. Cannabis shops that operate illegally will not be allowed to continue, while homegrown cannabis will also be discouraged, added Cholnan, who put the number of legally registered shops at 20,000. In the new law, cannabis will be a controlled plant, so growing it would require permission, he said. We will support cannabis cultivation for the medical and health industry. The draft law specifies a fine up to 60,000 baht or $1,700 for recreational use, while those selling cannabis for such use and participating in advertisement or marketing of buds, resin, extract, or smoking devices face jail terms of up to a year or a fine of up to $2,800 or both. It also
Just for weed?
Yeah. It also toughens punishment for cannabis farming without a license, with jail terms ranging from 1 to 3 years and fines from $560 to $8,000. Import, export, cultivation, and commercial use of cannabis will also require permits now, the minister added. The government, recognizing the economic benefit of the cannabis industry, would give businesses time to adjust to the new regulation. Such shops could operate until their license expire and convert to legal cannabis clinics if they follow the new rules, adding that the new regulation would have no impact on tourism.
Yeah,
And
I
there
think
you
it
have it.
will. I
So,
thi-
yeah,
Yeah,
big,
that could
big
be
impact.
why. Well, I don't know if that's why they're sort of changing their minds on this, but it did seem like they sort of legalized and they're like, just do what you want.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think when they legalized, there was really not much of a guideline in place. Everybody, it was more like the Wild West, you know.
Yeah. But
We have
20,000 stores, that's a lot
yeah.
to
Well, mobile
serve.
mobile trucks driving around selling weed out the truck. I mean,
Right.
mobile dispensaries. Yeah.
Mm,
And
I
it
wonder how
also
they're
says
gonna.
like you'll have
So,
to have permission to grow because homegrown cannabis will be discouraged, but that doesn't say that you can't do it.
yeah, they just
Right.
won't give out the like it's like the tax stamp, the hemp
Right.
tax stamp. What was that called back in the day in the USA? They made it. They didn't make it illegal. They just made it. If you wanted to get the cannabis, you had to have a
It was
special
called
That
the
stamp.
that
it was
stamp.
yeah, they
Yeah,
called
and
it the
then they didn't
marijuana tax stamp back in the
Yeah,
day.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then they didn't give
so
it
they
out
just
anymore.
don't give them out. They don't give anybody licenses to grow at home. Yeah, that's how it's gonna be. It's fucked, man. And this is one of the things, and I've said it many times, that if they ever like legalize home grow in the UK and be like, okay, you can grow your own, but you know you got to get yourself a license and come and put your name on this list here. I would never do that. They can fuck off because they can do something like this a year down the line, be like, oh, kind of changed our mind. You're not allowed to do that anymore, you know. So stop doing it, and then they have your address.
Hmm.
It's like just you can't trust these fuckers, man. Even when they legalize, just I don't know. I just wouldn't trust them. That's
Dodgy,
my
huh?
opinion on it. Yeah, fuck that. I don't need their permission to do this. You know, do it with or without. It doesn't bother me. It's just crazy shit, man. I would just wonder how they're going to enforce this as well. It's going to be such a blow to the economy. Surely they'll notice it pretty quick. You know what I mean? It
Yeah, I'm
won't,
sure
won't
that they
take
would.
long before they're like, fucking hell, we lost a few mil there.
Yeah, it's my prediction would be that they're going to make a reversal at some point. I just don't know when that's going to be. But like the revenue in the tourist trade was just immense off of that stuff. So
Do
yeah,
you think they'll make a reversal on a complete ban of recreational?
they may tighten it a little bit because I mean
Mm.
I think that's probably where it went off the rails is when they legalized it. They didn't have enough guidelines in place, and basically anybody was doing anything they felt like.
Hmm.
So it was crazy like that. But if they tighten it up and maybe get a structured system, it all depends, you know. People were seemed to be opposing it though on like almost moral or religious stand guises or something like that. No.
Mm.
I was disappointed to read that they said that the misuse could have negative impact on children and could lead to other drugs, which again is that same old rhetoric that we've heard over and over again. That
Yeah, you don't buy
just,
other drugs at a legal dispensary. You buy cannabis.
That's
It's
Mhm.
right.
not a gateway.
When it's in the legal dispensary, it definitely hasn't been in the bin or anything like that. It ain't covered in cheese, you know.
No,
Yeah.
no dumpster juice on it. Oh man.
It's gonna be absolutely top of the range. Again, the best thing you can do, everybody, if you want to consume good cannabis, safe cannabis, is to grow your own cannabis. So do
Mhm.
that if you're not doing it already. So we have one more news article. This one's for Monkey to talk about.
It's a long one, this one, but this one came to us through Percys. It came up there, and it's a good one. Indian tribe plans to open North Carolina's first marijuana dispensary on 420. So this is something that has been in the mix for a while here, because the Carolinas are kind of dragging their feet getting their program up. We have a Native American on a tribal land has decided to go ahead and do something about this. So let's take a look at it. Following last year's decision by members of the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians to legalize cannabis for adult use, the tribe has set a target date to open retail sales of April 20th, 2024. If all goes as planned, the launch will mark the first ever legal cannabis sales within the borders of North Carolina. It is a national cannabis holiday, right? Lee Griffin, Human Resources Director for the tribe's cannabis business, Koala Enterprises, said of the 4/20 start date during an ECBI Tribal Council work session on Wednesday. Across the country, it's the biggest revenue date annually for cannabis. It's like New Year's Eve at the casino, he said. A retail store located on the tribe's 57,000-acre Koala boundary will be open to any adult 21 years or older, regardless of tribal membership. Members of the tribe voted last September to legalize and regulate adult use sales, approving the ballot measure with a strong 70% to 30%. 2 years earlier, in 2021, ECBI's Koala Boundary became the first place in North Carolina where medical cannabis was legal after the Tribal Council adopted a regulated system. Registration for the program opened to all North Carolina residents this past June and October. And in October, the tribe issued the first round of medical cannabis cards. This week, after the Tribal Council meeting, which was first reported by the Charlotte Observer, Griffin said that about 1,400 people have already applied for the cannabis-related jobs through Koala Enterprises. Koala Enterprises aims to hire just over 350, so they got way more people looking for the jobs than they got jobs. Currently, the business employs 69 employees, he said. Ahead of last year's legalization vote, Koala Enterprises published an op-ed in the tribal newspaper, Cherokee One Feather, championing the benefits of adult use sales. It compared the opportunity to when 30 years ago, the Cherokee people decided to build a casino. This was highly controversial at the time, in part because nowhere in the surrounding region allowed gaming. The company said at the time, but we were not afraid to be different. Harrah's Cherokee Casino has benefited this tribe and its members in more ways than we ever imagined. The bulk of the new jobs by the policy change, according to the company, would be filled by enrolled ECBI members. In the medical system, as of last year, 84% of the cultivation employees were tribal members, as op-ed said, which represent the highest of any business owned by the tribe.
Damn.
That's pretty good. I mean, but you know, they're not just gonna do this. They're trying to benefit the people and do this at the same time. So this is good. This op-ed also pointed to a statewide poll that found 73% of North Carolina residents support legal cannabis, and it cited estimates suggesting that states' illicit cannabis activity amounted to nearly $3.2 billion in 2022. A more recent study of North Carolinians conducted by the Meredith poll and published last month found that 78% of lawmakers supported passing a medical cannabis bill this year. The tribes moved to legalize despite North Carolina's ongoing prohibition of cannabis drew criticism from some politicians, including U.S. Representative Chuck Edwards from North Carolina, Republican. Ahead of the election, Edwards, who is not a native, authored an op-ed in the Cherokee One Feather warning that legalization on tribal land would be irresponsible, and I intend to stop it. And how is that for pretty arrogant? This guy says he's going to try and stop them, and it's their own land and they have the right to do this. Crazy. The Congress also filed a bill in the U.S. House that would slash a portion of federal funding from tribes and states that legalize cannabis. That also failed in the House. The principal chief, Richard G. Sneed, called the move a big misstep at the time. He told Marijuana Moment that he believed pushback from Edwards and others may have emboldened the tribal members to support the measure. The worst thing that non-Indian elected officials can do is to tell a sovereign, federally recognized Indian tribe how they ought to handle their own business, Sneed said in an interview. Cannabis legalization in the Koala Boundary is expected to eventually bring in millions of dollars in revenue for the tribe. Forrest Parker, the general manager of Koala Enterprises, said last July that if adult use were legalized, revenue could conservatively reach $385 million in the first year and exceed $800 million by year 5, according to the Cherokee One Feather. Tribal governments and a handful of U.S. states have entered into cannabis business as more jurisdictions legalize. Notably in Montana, where the state lawmakers passed an adult use cannabis program last year, tribes are leading the way. Minnesota's cannabis law also allows tribes within the state to open cannabis business before the state begins retail licensing. Some tribal governments, including the Red Lake Band of Chippewa Indians and the White Earth Nation of the Lake Leech Band of Ojibwa, have already entered into the legal market. It's believed that in 2022, the Oglala Sioux tribe, located in South Dakota, became the first tribe to vote to legalize cannabis within a U.S. state where the plant still remains illegal. Meanwhile, in North Carolina, a state judge recently declared that anyone who has the odor of cannabis will be barred from entering the North Carolina Supreme Courts. I don't know what that has to do with this article, but the judge has to push back in some way.
So the Indian guys can't go to the courts if they stink of weed.
Exactly. They have to take a shower. They leave work from growing weed. They have to shower before they go into court, evidently, though. But I love this. The fact that these Native American reservations and tribal lands can actually take it upon themselves to say, hey, if the state wants to be stupid, they'll take the money, and I'll love it. So I'm just hoping that this catches on, because we've got tribal lands down here, you know?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Almost every state has tribal lands, and this could go really, really. I would feel like if the tribal lands would legalize, it would push the states. Like, okay, now you got to do something about it, because you just basically give them money away. So, very good progress on this.
Yeah, I hope it spreads, man. I hope more of those guys are like, yeah, fuck this. Let's all grow some weed. Do it.
Yeah, this was a good news article. I mean, I've heard some other bad articles out there this week that I didn't cover. I mean, the war on drugs, people are trying to actually start the war on drugs again. They're
starting
stupid.
all kinds of war.
All kind of stupid things like that. Like that was an article that I didn't bring in, but I'll just go ahead and it just the little tip of the iceberg here, that there's a lawmaker in New Jersey that's trying to introduce a law that would require you to furnish a blood sample to a police officer if he suspects you're impaired.
Hero.
No.
What a hero.
No, I was like, because he just like, oh, I think I smell cannabis, one of those things. He thinks you're impaired. Oh, and now I need your blood. That's just too invasive to me, man. That's crazy.
Yeah, it won't pass. It's just that these people try these things, and then it gets put up in the media so we can see it and get enraged about something, because that's the only articles people want to read nowadays, is articles that enrage us. Click, 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 You just got to click on them links, man. That's how they're staying in business. So they have to write these articles that we all click on. Like, fucking remember the guy cutting off his penis and shit? You're clicking on that. You're like, he did what? No, let me see this. Oh, no pictures. We're definitely gonna click that. But clickbait it's ruining news, man. It's ruining journalism. I think clickbait is just, we're not getting the truth anymore. We're just getting like opinions and agendas through the news, I find. But that's a different topic altogether, isn't it?
It is
going on tangent there,
Yeah, I mean, there'll be lawmakers start wrestling with some of these laws and trying to figure out creative, or sometimes they even think that they're doing cute things, or kind of like being hip with it. Like there's a bill in Idaho that was supposed to set a $420 minimum fine for possession of any cannabis. Now the lawmaker thought he was being cute, putting a $420 fine on it right there.
Wow.
But people who do not have the funds to pay that basically puts you in jail. So I mean, it's like, it's such a stupid thing, and he thinks he's being cute here. Dumb, very dumb.
Yeah, it's all stupid. It's all ignorance, man. It's about time all of this changed, and it is changing. I mean, how many states now in the USA? You're over more than 50% of the population that has access to legal recreational cannabis. Is it over 50% of the states now? I think that's true as well, right?
No, we have 24 states where you do not have half yet.
Okay, it's close to half then. It's close.
It'll be, very close. But it was like another article I'd read during the week said something to the effect like, I think 71% of the U.S. Population lives within 1 mile of a 1 mile drive of a dispensary. So that just gives you an idea of the population. There's a lot of people where cannabis is legal, and a lot of the states that are not legal are not the big populous states.
To be fair, if I lived in the States, it would be within 1 mile of a dispensary. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to be far from one, do you?
No, my dispensary's in the back of the cupboard. You know what I mean?
Right. Get your own dispensary.
And there's going to
Exactly.
be big elections this year. In these big presidential elections, do you have local elections too where people are going to vote on the legalization of cannabis in their states? Or is it just for the presidential?
I'm not really sure. I think Florida has got a vote coming up on
Right.
cannabis, and Hawaii is actually approaching it too. I think
Okay.
Hawaii Senate is moving a bill forward to legalize recreational in Hawaii. So that would be an interesting move. There's a few states that are doing it. I can tell you for a fact, there's a few states that still ain't going to do it. So
Yeah. It's going though. The tides are turning. 10 years ago, to think you'd have the amount of people with access to legal recreational cannabis in the USA.
Mhm.
To be what it is now, you'd be surprised.
Yeah,
But-
you have most of the larger cities in the country. I mean, there's a few of them that don't, like Houston, that doesn't have legal cannabis, Miami. But most of your bigger population centers, New York, LA, Chicago, cannabis is legal.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So that's all the news we have. We don't really have any forum news right now, do we? I don't think we do.
I can't think of anything
Just John
special.
Colson got a member of the month, so thanks to John for all of his
yes.
hard work over at the forum recently. We appreciate that shit.
Amen.
Then we have the conspiracy special. It's coming up,
That's the
everybody.
one.
Tuesday, the 5th of March, at our usual
Tuesday?
showtime. Tuesday, CH.
That's what I said. Tuesday.
Yeah, Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Yeah, sorry, CH, everybody. That's how it's pronounced. Can't pronounce it properly. Tuesday.
Put it on your schedule.
Tuesday. Yes, Tuesday, the 5th of March. This is the conspiracy special. We're going to have Brian from the Brian and Marco show join us. We're having Connor McLeod come back from Canaman TV. And we also have Ben Bolin from Stuff They Don't Want You to Know. And if you don't know that podcast, check it out. It's a cool podcast. Lots of episodes about lots of cool, interesting subjects. So he'll be joining us as well. And we're going to spin that wheel, which we had on the last one, and discuss the conspiracy theories that we have left to discuss on there. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. I like it. Good session. So come and join us for that. So that's on Tuesday. It'll be public for everybody. And then we have a Q&A with Shanti Baba. How about that? Sorry, Monkey. Saying?
I said that was good. I mean, we get him coming back. We got his first interview in a long time, and now he's coming back to do a Q&A with us. That's incredible.
Yeah, man.
I mean,
and he sounds eager for it as well. It sounds like he's looking forward to it. He had a good time last time he was here. Yeah,
man. We don't put people on the spot. We let them enjoy themselves. That's what we're here for.
And that'll be open to everybody as well, because it's a Q&A, so we want people there to ask questions. So if you have questions for Shanti Baba, get them ready and come and ask on Thursday, the 7th of March at our usual showtime, which is 9 p.m. for UK time. That's a GMT. And then we have 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific.
Correct.
Yeah. And then it's like Monday morning sometime in Australia. You're a big country. You have to figure out your own time zone there. So I can't know them all,
It's something like 6 a.m. on what is it, the east coast of Australia, something like that.
Yeah, it was 6
It
o'clock
always
for
boggled
Bubble,
my
wasn't it?
mind. That
Something like
Bubble
that.
made it to the show.
Yeah. Still dark outside and shit? Wow, fuck that.
I
damn.
know.
You're not supposed to get up till the sun gets up at least. Jesus.
So that's why he's not showing up anymore, huh?
Yeah. I don't blame him.
Nah,
But he did pop into the forum the other day.
Did he?
Yeah, I didn't get to speak to him. He just popped in and then he left again. But at least knows about. At least we know he's good.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not worth it o'clock. You know what I'm saying, Viking? You understand. You're there on the other side of the coin.
Yeah, it's not worth it o'clock. I get that. It's recorded. I can do it when I'm awake. Yeah, I get you.
Yeah, man. I think that's everything. Should we move to the outro?
Why not?
Let's do it. So I don't know whether that's professionally fading out or if it's just like suddenly dropped. I'm trying to fade it out professionally, but it doesn't do it. Something changed with the software. It needs to update or something. Anyway, yeah, Adam asks about a desktop vaporizer there, Monkey. You got any, what desktop vaporizer is on your desk right now? Asks
The
Adam.
Riser XQ2 is the vaporizer that's on my desk for every show. provided by a riser, and I like it enough that it lives here now. You know,
Nice.
only thing I use during the show.
Yeah, man. So we want to get. I'm gonna have to get a thread up and just try and get a bunch of questions put in the for like a listener mail episode. We want to do a listener mail episode. I mentioned last week, but I didn't put the thread up. So if anybody wants to start that thread, feel free. You know, we just get like 10 questions or something. We can do a couple of listener mail episodes and answer some questions.
Okay.
Yeah, because I know people have questions that they like us to answer, and we can always answer the questions anytime over at percysgrowroom.com. You know, so if you're urgent, just come and ask us over there. But we do want to do an episode on listener mail as well. Yeah, and it doesn't just have to be questions as well. You know, suggestions, feedback, funny stories you'd like it to tell us. You know, all kinds of things like that. Just, you know, listener mail, the stuff from you guys. So help us get some content for an episode about listener mail by giving us some content. That would be sweet. Yeah, so that's about everything. Anything else? As I said, we got the conspiracy special on Tuesday, the CH Tuesday, and
One of those days.
yeah, and then the Q&A on Thursday. So it's going to be good. If you see any news articles throughout the week you want us to cover, then do feel free to send them to us. We appreciate that kind of shit. We'd like to report on the things that you will want us to report on. But until next week, man, if anybody has suggestions for other things to try that maybe is disgusting or not disgusting. Somebody said jellied eel or something out there. Yeah, I'm
Yeah, I
skeptical
saw
that
that.
one will happen. Yeah, I tried to ignore it. But, you know,
I'm not
I
sure
don't know
you'd
about that
find
one.
Jelly eel. I don't think I'd get that at my
Mm-mm.
local grocer. So
No.
yeah.
But what's
Sounds
next?
like
I
a
haven't found anything which was disgusting yet. We had the what was it? Monkey started first with the prawns and shrimp, and then I tried that. I was like, yeah, that's some good shit. And
Yeah.
then we had Turkish Delight. I'm like, yeah, that's some good shit. And then grapefruit. It's like, oh, okay, that's some okay shit. You know?
Yeah, but that's fine. It's better than what
Yeah.
vomit flavored is what you used to call it.
Yeah. Yeah, very interesting. Well, anchovety. Yeah, that's another thing. I like anchovies, so I probably will like that shit. So
Yeah, I like
suggestions
anchovies
over
as
at
well.
Percy's, you know.
But is this going to be like maybe a funky anchovy one? You know, I don't know. That'd be a weird one.
Anchovy paste. Ugh.
Yeah, probably what it is. Probably what it is.
Yeah, man. So drop your suggestions over on percysgrowroom.com. We want to hear from you. But until next week, everybody, thanks as always for being here. Thanks for downloading the show. Thanks for being here live on YouTube. And we appreciate you guys, man. Don't forget to share if you can. And we'll catch you on the next one. Goodbye, everybody.
See you later, people.
Bye. Stay high.
Waving now.
Peace.